Hello, Chicago, and my name is Mike Glass, and this is ChildServ. And tonight we are going to be talking with a board member, a trustee, Mr. Elliot Richardson, and we're also going to be taking your calls as you want to call in at 312-738-1060. And welcome, Elliot.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
Okay.
Thank you for having
me. And what I'd like to start out with is how actually did you become involved in ChildServ? How did you know about the organization, and what prompted you to be a part of it?
Well, ChildServ has a great and robust board, and one of the board members and I knew each other. We're both attorneys, and he said, I'd like to introduce you to an organization that helps children. And I was intrigued, and that's how I was initially introduced to ChildServ.
And now you've been on the board how long?
I've been on the board about 4 years.
Okay, and during that time, what have you seen as far as the organization is concerned that has been successful, and also, quite frankly, in the last 3 years, especially with the economy that we've been in as a not-for-profit, what do you think are the most important trying things that we have going?
That's a long question.
Take it in two stages.
Let me take it in two stages. Anytime you change a child's life, that's successful. And what I've seen is great staff, a great board, and people at ChildServ. I mean, to tell you a little bit about what ChildServ does, which I want to do, I know there's people that watch this program, but, essentially we're providing essential group home care, foster care, support for at-risk children and their families, and their parents, frankly. So every time you're able to make an impact on a child's life, that's a success, and I've seen a lot of that. I've heard people who have been in ChildServ, children, clients, come in and talk to the group. Folks who have graduated from high school and graduated from the group home process come in and talk about what a huge help it was to make them members of, productive members of society. So I think we've seen a lot of really, really good things in that regard. When you talk about what's the biggest challenge now for not just ChildServ, but nonprofits in general, it's obviously the state of the Illinois economy has really taken its toll on state giving. And by that I mean the amount of money the state and the federal government can actually put into ChildServ and other organizations like it. So now we've had to try to make that transition, as you know, to try to fundraise from the private sector, and that's been a challenge when you haven't really had to do that in the past.
And that's a good point as far as our programs are concerned. And again, if you have any questions regarding the programs that we run, we would like to take your calls and your questions at 312-738-1060. And as Elliot was saying, we have a number of different programs that relate to all at-risk children, group home type of programs, as well as adoption services. And so if any of these are something that you would like to find out more about, please give us a call while we are on the air. And let me follow up on that as far as the fundraising is concerned, because I know that there might be people watching who are with other not-for-profits who are going through basically the same thing. Our organization, ChildServ, has a number of programs that are funded by the government at different levels. And because of the state of the economy in Illinois, and also just the economy in general, it's been kind of difficult and slow in coming and so forth. So you as a board member, and I know that you're the chair of the development committee of the board, you are trying to develop programs that will bring us into more of the private sector with regards to fundraising. You want to speak a little bit about that as far as, going out to corporations and private individuals?
Well, first of all, there's no choice. That's the way the fundraising is going to go, not just for ChildServ, but for just for almost all nonprofits. So we do have to go to corporations. We have to go to folks, high-income people, and try to bring them into the fold. And really, there's just a huge slew of great non-for-profits that people can give money to, and really getting our message out is the most important thing, and being creative. We're doing things that we've never done before. We're going to do things like golf outings, and we're going to do things like having an annual fundraiser that we really didn't have to rely on before. So I think creativity and having people understand that if they take money out of their pocket and give it to ChildServ, it will be money well spent, and believe me, it will be money well spent.
And I know that in your day job as an attorney, you come into contact with individuals. One of the ultimate areas of fundraising is planned giving.
Yes.
And so how do you see that? I know you've been talking with the board about that and getting to the point of planned giving and talking to individuals who might be able to put ChildServ, in this case, into wills and bequests and trusts and things of that sort. So do you see that as also a major area for an organization such as ChildServ?
Again, it's going to have to be. And the challenge for the board of ChildServ is to have people understand how important it truly is to have to do planned giving. So planned giving essentially is having folks put in their wills that when something happens, when they pass, some of that money will go to ChildServ, and it's going to go to a nonprofit.
Right.
So we have to show people how an investment in a child is so important. And when you think about it, just on an economic level for the country in general, we have an opportunity to intercede in a child's life while they're young, and put them on the right path, or pay for them to be on the wrong path for the rest of their lives. Not only is it a wonderful thing to see a child succeed, but it's good for the city, it's good for the state, it's good for the country. It's the message that we have to get out.
Right.
So, I hope that answered the question.
Oh, yes, it does. And along those lines, as far as the development, and what I'm asking these questions are from, obviously, the board's perspective. On a professional level, the organization understands that we have to diversify our funding streams. And this program tonight, rather, as opposed to some of the other programs that we've held on Monday evenings over the last couple of weeks, and what we'll be doing going forward, where we've talked about, in fact, our programs, we wanted you to come on tonight to really talk to folks about being a board member and the board perspective on what we have to do in order to continue the organization going forward. Now, this is an organization that does not have the luxury of having a foundation whereby, well, it does have a foundation, and it does get the money, from there, but it doesn't have the luxury of a foundation that, what I meant was, with really deep pockets.
Right.
And so because of that, we as an organization need to go out and raise additional funds, over and above what we might be able to get from our foundation. Having said that, the idea of a foundation underpinning an organization, how do you, as a board member, how do you see that? Do you look to the foundation as support in rainy days? And now, of course, it's pouring.
Right.
But how do you see that, and how, as far as ChildServ is concerned, how do the two work together to ensure that the organization is going to continue?
Well, we don't want to have to rely on the foundation. I mean, the foundation is a well-funded foundation, and that's one thing that makes ChildServ different than a lot of nonprofits. It's going to be here for a long time. But at the same time, the foundation doesn't like you having to go to them every year and saying, listen, we're running a deficit, so can we have some more money? So while it's nice to have the security to some extent of having a foundation, we understand every year we need to raise money, and we need to raise a whole lot more money than we used to before. And as a board member who sees how great these programs are, it's a shame when we have to lose one because we don't have funding for it. It impacts real families in the Chicagoland area. So that's why being on the board, fundraising is such an important, it's the ugliest part, and it's the least fun part of being on the board. But it's also the most important part, perhaps, of our jobs as trustees of this organization.
Now you've said this the ugliest part. You're right. When you go to see individuals out in the community, as a fundraiser, I know instinctively people will grab their wallets, when we come by, because of that. But the fact of the matter is, it's also, I would say, the crux of the entire organization non-program, because without the fundraising, the organization wouldn't be here, and without the organization, obviously, the programs wouldn't be here. So
I still have no idea how you guys talked me into being chair of the Resource Development Committee. I mean, it happened before you got there, Mike, but, fundraising is absolutely no fun. But again, it's a fact of life, and as state funds and city funds and federal funds dry up, and they are going to dry up. They have been drying up. It just makes it that much more important. This is maybe one of the more boring shows that we do on this TV, on the show, because we're talking about fundraising. But I do think it's important for people who are watching to understand how, whether it's ChildServ or any other nonprofit, as long as you know your money is being well spent, it's a great thing to do.
Well, I heard that you can whistle classical music, but we won't ask you to do that tonight. So
I don't know where you heard that, but yes, yeah.
And again, let me say that if you have any questions regarding our programs, what we do and how we do it, please call in this evening at 312-738-1060. And if you do not call in this evening, because, as my friend here said, this might be the most boring show.
No.
Come back again on Monday evenings at 7 o'clock, because, as I've mentioned, we will be talking about the programs that we do operate, and you might be interested in hearing about those programs and, indeed, getting other information as we go forward. As far as, again, your being a part of the organization is concerned, historically, now you've been with the organization 4 years.
Right.
Okay. And during that time frame, you've seen some good times, I'll say it that way, and, of course, the last 3 years. We have a caller, and, yes. Hello?
Hi, I am wondering if you would explain some of the programs that the ChildServ provides for children in Illinois, is it, or just the Chicago area?
Okay, you want to take that?
Sure, I'll start.
Okay.
It's not just Chicago. There are facilities in Chicago, but also in DuPage County. I would say Chicago and the surrounding suburbs, and essentially the programs are everything from education, educating mothers who have had children out of wedlock and are still in high school, and trying to help them cope and be successful and raise their family, to group homes. So group homes essentially are when kids are adjudicated wards of the state by DCFS, so they just don't have folks to take care of them anymore, or they're adjudicated juvenile delinquents. Instead of sending them to jail or juvenile jail, they go into a group home where counselors work with them to try to rehabilitate them. Same with foster care. There's so many children right now who need foster care. One thing that ChildServ does is it finds people who are willing to take these kids as foster parents, and hopefully at some point that may lead to an adoption, but certainly provide a stable home environment for the children.
Let me just add to that, as Elliot was saying, we have these programs, and they operate in Chicago proper, as well as in Lake County, DuPage County, and Cook County. And we also are involved with actual adoption programs too. So in addition to the group home, as Elliot was stating, we have actual adoption programs that we operate. So basically, those are the core programs, and then there are others that go that are in support of those core programs that we are operating.
And, there is an element too that I like a lot, and it's an advocacy element. So we do have there is a segment of ChildServ that goes out and tries to motivate the Illinois legislature and work together with other organizations to make sure that the funding does not completely dry up for not just ChildServ, but all of the other organizations in the city that are looking out for children and families. So that is some of the stuff that we do.
Well, I hope that answers your question. If not, call back and we'll try again. And if you are out there and have another question off of that, perhaps, again, the number is, and I have to put on my glasses because I can't see it, it's 312-738-1060. Thank you. And let's talk a little bit about the advocacy, because I know that's near and dear to your heart, not only the advocacy that ChildServ does, but what has brought you also to ChildServ, and is another thing that you do in addition to all that you do on a regular basis in your life, is that you have founded and you are leading the Small Business Advocacy Council. Let's talk a few minutes about that and how that works.
Well, the Small Business Advocacy Council is essentially an organization which provides political advocacy and advocacy in all levels to small and mid-market businesses. And how I would compare that to the work that ChildServ does is, ChildServ is truly about empowering children. And empowering families.
Right.
You can't really rely on anybody to do things for you. You have to learn how to do things for yourself, and hopefully ChildServ provides that structure to children. We sort of have the same philosophy through the SBAC, that we want to empower small and mid-market businesses to take matters into their own hands and to to push forward for their own best interests. So there is some sort of synergy there.
Well, not some sort. I think there is, and it was, at your urging, of course, that ChildServ, even though it's not a, quote, small business, it's a not-for-profit organization,
Right.
which is still incorporated, so it still is a business.
It is a business,
right.
Yes.
At your urging, we became a member of the SBAC so that we could be in contact, if you will, with the other companies that are there from the fundraising standpoint, first of all, as well as to take advantage of some of the advocacy types of issues and programs that you operate. And there is a synergy there with what we do as far as advocacy is concerned, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's important as board members of a nonprofit like ChildServ for us to interact as much as we can with the business community, with corporations, with folks who may be willing to sponsor and give money, and that is, that's very, very important.
And I would think that this is, especially over the last 3 years, for some organizations, this is a new type of issue with regards to who you connect with and how you do that. A lot of not-for-profit organizations will go to businesses for funds,
Right.
and basically that's the traditional sense of doing something like that. Whereas here, through your prodding and urging and conversation with your fellow trustees, you have brought a different dynamic to that, I would think, with regards to ChildServ, from the standpoint that it's not only getting in contact with these companies that we are able to do, which is wonderful because it expands our database, our fundraising, which of course we need, but also it puts us front and center where these companies who are going to advocate on behalf of them, businesses, but also on behalf of what we would like to see. So that gives us a whole different dynamic, I would think, as far as our being a part of an organization like that, which is somewhat non-traditional, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of nonprofits, and I've been on other boards, and a lot of nonprofits, for good reason, have fallen into a routine where they're very comfortable. You write a grant, you get state funding. You write a grant, you get state funding. That's not going to happen anymore. But yet, kids still need service. Families still need service. Children without parents still need foster care. They still need a group home setting as opposed to going to juvenile detention. So I think, again, creativity, the nonprofits that survive, and certainly I believe ChildServ, I wouldn't be sitting here if I didn't think it needed to survive and I didn't think that it would survive, are going to have to get creative in the way that they fundraise.
And that's interesting because I don't know if our listening audience realizes, but ChildServ is 117 years old.
It is.
And so, but there's no guarantee that it'll make 118 years unless we have that kind of creativity, especially because, as we've been talking about in this program, the fact that the economy has been what it is and how we go about doing this. So, as far as the board is concerned, you are leading the board in these different directions, and so just for the sake of the audience here and knowing how the board operates and how they come along, what has been your estimation of the board here, your fellow trustees, and their following this type of lead to be non-traditionals, thinking a little bit out of the box?
Everyone's working on it. I mean, that's the best way that I could say it. It's again, fundraising, planned giving. It's not easy stuff. It really isn't. So I think that we're working together as an organization to sort of change that culture. And frankly, bring in new board members that understand that, it may be a bitter pill, but if you want to truly help this organization, you got to raise money for them. It's just the way that it is. And working with people where this is sort of a new concept for them. Like I said, I'm very uncomfortable fundraising, always have been. But it is something that you have to do if the organization is going to continue.
And along those lines, I would think that you and I have talked about this before. A board at a certain level might have to, in this day, expand upon itself, and bring in other individuals at different levels, so that you are basically being able to have people that are going to be able to approach corporations on one hand, or approach private foundations on another, or be able to do the planned giving types of things, people who have that kind of background. So I believe that you are involved with that, and also in bringing these kinds of people on board. So in what way are you doing that as far as working with the board to identify these kinds of people that we need?
Well, there is a committee of the board, and that's board development, and they're consistently trying to find good board members that can come on. You've got to care about the cause. You absolutely have to care about what it is that you're fundraising for. So it's people with a soft spot in their heart for children. And for sort of juvenile justice and social justice, and then looking for people who may have the means to really help. And if there's anybody out there listening that's interested in getting involved in a great board and a great organization, I would encourage you to contact us, because we're always looking for good folks.
That's correct. And if you are out there and you have a question regarding any of what we've been talking about, and obviously we've been talking mostly about the financial part of the program, we have also our website, and I will show that now. Excuse me. I will show that now. There you go. And with regards to our program and our website, which is www.childserv.org. It's not exactly on the there we go. Okay. www.childserv.org if you want to go on the website and see other programs and what we're all about. And again, if you want to contact us today and talk with us, we are at 312-738-1060. And again, this program has been dedicated to talking about the board and about fundraising on behalf of the programs that we are doing. So, anything else that you would like to say with regards to the organization from the board's perspective in the closing minutes that we have going on now, as to the organization and the people who might be listening?
Proud to be on the board. I think everybody on the board of ChildServ is proud to be on the board. I would definitely encourage you to go to our website, take a look at the different programs that we offer, and consider getting involved. It would be a very worthwhile experience for you to just be involved in the organization And anytime you have any questions, there's always people available to talk with you about it.
And we do have a need, quite frankly, on an annual basis, year-round, for volunteers to work in our programs and to help us with the different kinds of programs that we operate. So if you're interested in doing any of that, please go to our website and check that out. I'm going to do this, and hopefully it'll work. One more time, it's right there as far as our phone number and our email address and our website. Please help us out, and want to thank you for being with us this evening. And again, if you have any questions in the remaining minute or so that we have,
we're done.
We're done.
Yeah, they're cutting us off. Thank you.